30 cars out there ready for this race. So 20 minutes to look forward to. Let's run you through how the grid lines up then for this first of 3 races this weekend. Just the one today we get here on the live stream. But Joshua Law qualified the car on pole position. Did it by 1.3 seconds in the end. It was a big margin for Joshua in the number 91 car. Alongside him is going to be number 77, which is James Barwell. So that is the front row of the grid. Row 2 then sees number 1, which is Tom Snetterton. He'll be joined by number 21, which is Richard Johnson. Then back on row number 3, it's Michael Gibbons with David Horton alongside. The 4th row is number 40, which is Timothy Tudor. 71, Paul Traherne finds himself on the 4th row of the grid. Row 5 is where you'll find Colin Peach and Mike Turner. And then behind them, row 6 is going to be Steve O and John Owen. Row 7, Peter Brower and Nick Bates. Further back from them, you're going to have Joshua Needham in car number 25. He'll be with John Eiley on that 8th row. Row 9 is going to be Grant Gibson and 73, Ashley Law. The 10th row is going to be then Andrew Butler with Roger Donham, and then further back from them, the final row of the Duratec field, you'll see Peter Williams and David Gorst. So they're your 22 in a Duratec. And then further back from them, we have the Pinto class, which is going to be a 20-second delay. So we'll get the delayed start. The Union Jack flag will drop down, and it'll be Nicholas Johnson that leads the field away for that one. Charlie Hyatt will lead the field from the front row alongside Nicholas. And then further back from them, we have Paul Street and Peter Needham. The 3rd row is Mark Naro and Nick Hyatt. The 4th row, Chris Snowden and Mike Fry, and Clive Steeper is the man who brings up the rear in the Pinto class. So that's how the field lines up. We're looking forward to this, as we said. 20 minutes of action to look forward to. Joshua Law, as I said, 4 wins so far this year. He leads the championship. He's done the business so far this morning in qualifying, but it's a busy weekend. So let's see how he determines how this race does unfold as the last few cars now come into position towards the rear. But what a lovely sight that does indeed make for the Sports 2000 Championship. And we've got plenty more racing to come after this weekend, with rounds at Thruxton, Alton Park and back at Brands Hatch for Ford Power Live in the middle of September. But the last few cars now head their way in towards position, and that last car is now in place. We should be ready for the green flag to be waved. The 5-second gantry light will appear nowadays, so that goes up for the drivers, and they'll have to then wait for the red lights to come on. And as soon as they go out, we'll be racing here at Snetterton for the first time for Sports 2000. Red lights go out now, and it's a good start there from the outside of the front row. So a better start from James Barwell. Didn't quite have the pace this morning in qualifying, but James has got the launch up towards the first corner, in towards Richie's. He's going to get the lead away from Joshua Law. So a great job he's done there. 22 or so cars trying to squeeze their way through Richie's corner without too many dramas, which I think they've all pretty much done. And then we'll wait 20 seconds before the Pintos get underway as well. But James Barwell has got 20 hard minutes ahead of him to try and keep at bay the man behind, which is Joshua Law, with those 4 wins so far this year. The Pintos get underway. They work their way up towards Richie's corner, but it's James Barwell that leads the way just ahead of Joshua Law. But straight away, Josh is going to try and find himself to try and make a move down towards the left-hander of Agostini. Which way he's going to go? He's going to feint to the inside line. Is there going to be room to squeeze through? Just about there, and Joshua Law straight away takes the lead of the race once again from James Barwell. That looked fairly nicely there from Joshua. No hesitation whatsoever. Gets the job done, heads into the lead of the race, and now leads the pack down towards Hamilton for the first time. Delighted to say, by the way, Chaz Draycott has joined me in the box. He is here. He knows plenty about Sports 2000s, and Chaz, that was a pretty good start from first off James, but Josh has fought back well.
Yeah, Josh did an absolutely mega job there to get back in front of James Barwell. James actually running in the brand new MCR S2N for the first time this season. He had a big old crash earlier on in the championship at Donington Park at the start of race 2, and since then he's been running the new car, and it's been going very well indeed. We've got yellow flags for our Pinto field though, as that is Colin Peach and Andrew Butler. The two of them actually side by side with each other in the paddock as well, so that's not going to go down well. But Colin had to replace his splitter this morning. Looks like he might have to replace another one now.
Yeah, and Andrew had problems with, I think, gear linkage, didn't he? So he has had problems in the pits this morning already. So not the best day for them on day number 1 for those two. There's, I think, a bit more damage to Colin Peach's car, but we'll see what happens with Andrew Butler. And the safety car is going to be called, which is no surprise because Colin's car is in quite a precarious position there on the run through Hamilton Corner. So everyone will reduce their speed. Joshua Law will get a break just to slow things down, and already towards the end of that lap he had started to build a bit of a buffer over James Barwell, but that will now come to pretty much nothing.
Yeah, indeed. It's very I mean, it can be very feisty in these cars. You know, they are very much aero dependent machines, and sometimes in slower speed corners, and when you're in a pack especially, you can get a bit of aero wash, you can get a lot of understeer in the slow speed corners, and it can be a bit of a mess. And unfortunately, in the championship where we don't really see a lot of contact, it has come to that this time round. But still, the pace car. Oh, that's Roger Donnan actually in the new MCR S2N as well. A bit of bodywork hanging off the front of his car. Roger's had a nightmare this season, you know. He's the series secretary as well, so you'd think that they'd all treat him very kindly and be a bit careful around him. But yeah, unfortunately, Roger's had a very, very tough start to the season. He's actually bottom of the championship on 4 points. His best finish is a 12th place at Donington National at the start of the year.
Well, you could say Roger should know better. One of the two.
That's very true. Very true indeed, mate.
We're not too sure. We're not too sure what happened there, but Roger has been affected by some sort of contact or whatever happened out there on that first lap. Colin Peach, as we said, has been involved as well, and also the number 9 machine, which I think Andrew Butler has rejoined. We'll have to wait for a shot of the cars down there at Hamilton, but there was something going on, which is sometimes what happens when you've got a field of 30 or so cars. It's always quite tight to squeeze all of those through, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, absolutely. And the thing is, even within these Duratec's, you know, the cars are all so different in their own ways. There's a lot of MCR S2s in the field. That is the sort of dominant car that you see in the pack, but there's a few Van Diemen's in there, a few Guns as well, but each of them are still very, very different. You know, they've all got their own little characteristics. Some of them have different wings, different setups in terms of the aero as well, and it can be a real mixed grid actually, even though a lot of the cars do look the same. Some of them are carbon fibre, some are fiberglass. There's a lot of different weights as well. It's a very interesting championship in that way, because to the untrained eye, they all just looks like the same car again and again, but there are so many varieties of the MCRs and Guns, especially in this championship, and it's what keeps it exciting. You know, it's been really, really good to watch for the last few years. I've been commentating on it for 3 years now, and I've loved every second of it.
And they do turn their cars out really nicely as well. They are absolutely immaculate, aren't they?
Oh yeah,
cars.
Absolutely, yeah. Some of the liveries are really bright and colourful. You know, it makes our jobs as commentators a lot easier as well, looking at these cars, because they're so bright and beautiful that it's easy to pick them apart. It looks like we are going to go racing again this time round, though. Josh Law leading them from Barwell, Johnson, Stoughton and Gibbons. Stoughton and Gibbons for the last few years, alternating championships between the pair of them. They've won many, many championships between the two. They've got Tim Tudor just behind them. Paul Traherne, who hopefully has a bit more luck this season, because I don't think I've ever seen Paul with good luck on his side, to be honest with you. But we're about to go racing, and Josh Law has actually already got on with it.
Yep, he's leaped away from the rest of the pack, so on his way he goes once again, does Josh Law, looking for a 5th victory of the season. He's been pretty much the dominant man so far this year, of course, with the exception of Richard Johnson and Michael Gibbons, who have taken their victories as well. But off he goes like a scalded cat up towards the first corner, and Joshua Law now trying to control this race as best as he can, and listen to the sound and how quick they do get back underway. They are one of the quickest categories you'll see here this weekend at Snetterton.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Watching them come past the window as well, we just get a glimpse of them as they fly through, all different colours, absolutely streaking by. There's the Pintos as well, a little bit further down the order, of course. They are the slower category of the two cars. They are easily identifiable with the fact that they don't have the huge wings and splitters like these Duratec's do at the front. But, I mean, Josh Law is absolutely checked out in this opening couple of moments from the restart. Barwell staying with him. Sort of. I was going to say he's staying second at least ahead of Johnson at the moment. Tom Stoughton with Gibbons just behind him. It's nicely evenly spread out at the moment between everybody else. Peter Brewer there in the number 6 car with a humongous rear wing on the back. That's Ash Law going down the inside of Josh Needham. Then there's Williams and Grant Gibson's Van Diemen just behind. Grant said that he had a bit of an issue in qualifying this morning. I asked him whether it was power, because Snetterton requires a lot of power to be absolutely spot on around here because of the long straights. He said it was more the fleshy bit behind the wheel.
Indicating himself.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're right, Josh Law has gone once again, but I think everyone else behind Josh is pretty much nicely packed, aren't they? So forget Josh, he's doing what he does. He goes out and leads these races and pretty much wins, but there's no kind of putting at bay these behind, because if anything does go wrong, they'll be the first people to pick up the pieces. But James Barwell's got a bit of a tough ask on his hand here to try and keep at bay the number 21 machine at the minute of Richard Johnson. I think Richard's going to be pretty quick. He's going to be pretty feisty in trying to get his way through. So we'll see how that one unfolds for 2nd and 3rd places. But as they turn their way through the bomb hole, they are the last runners there of the Duratec's on the way down towards Coram. And then, of course, we'll look back to the Pintos, which will come through the shot any second. There they go now. And the leader of the Pintos is still the number 62 machine by the looks of it, which is Nicholas Johnson, the man who qualified that car on pole position, still up there towards the head of the order, and he finds himself at the minute in 20th position. So a nice run for him as some of the Duratec's run side by side across the line. That's Ashley Law, who has just lost out there actually to the car of, by the looks of it, number 25, just squeezing his way through. So that was Joshua Needham making up a place.
But he's just hung it around the outside at Riches again and got the place back. Really, really gutsy stuff by Ash Law. You've got to love that fight back. Ash was feeling really confident after qualifying. He said that traffic unfortunately ruined his final lap in the session and he would have gained a couple more positions from it. And he actually didn't realise, as many of them didn't realise, that the second fastest lap from qualifying meant that is your grid for the second race, as Williams has now got around Josh Needham as well on the exit. Maybe that little bit of battling and just having a go at Ash Law has slightly slowed him down. But this lovely little colourful quartet makes its way into the tight left at Agostini's, and it looked like Grant Gibson was going to go down the inside of Josh there, but backs out of it.
Yeah, just hanging off the tail at the minute is Grant, so just waiting for anything to unfold ahead of him, but is in the mix and works his way now down towards the left-hander at Hamilton. And just going back to the two quickest laps you need for the grid, I think that kind of caught Joshua Law out as well, because he sat there for so long and all of a sudden realised he needed a second quick lap. I think he's probably done two anyway, but just to be sure, he headed back out, got another couple in, and both of those were quick enough to get him towards the front of the grid once more.
Yeah, it was quite incredible, the pace of Josh Law in the opening parts of qualifying, as that is John Owen being overtaken by Peter Brower, and Peter holds on to it through Brundle and Nelson, but John gets the initial kick off the corner. That's where John's always strong, down the inside through the bomb hole, gets back in front again. But now is Brower then going to tuck back in after they come out of Murray's and try and get a run on him down the start finish straight, as everybody else filters their way through. It's very, very close between these two machines. The number 6 car looking very, very elegant and curvy as ever. Now that is one of the few Pintos. It's an old Lola, but it's been converted into a Duratec with the bigger wing and the splitter. Some of the cars in the field do get converted from one class to the next as a sort of evolution of them, but the sort of purpose-built Duratecs are usually the more dominant of that kind. But still great to see that drivers do that though and work on the cars to sort of develop them themselves.
Yeah, it certainly is. So they go across the line now, currently running 10th, 11th, and right behind them now in 12th position has come the number 4 machine. So watch out for Nick Bates. He's going to look a little bit racy, trying to go around the outside of Peter Brower. It's not quite going to work. And he spins it. Almost into the hands of someone else there, but hopefully he's fallen far enough back from the circuit. You always kind of hold your breath at that point.
Yeah.
He's just about done it and rejoins.
Yeah, that was, I think, Mike Turner just behind him there. But Nick Bates, the boss man of Sports 2000 as well. So he's not setting the example there, unfortunately, trying too hard to fight off the guys around him. This is Williams looking down the inside of Ash Law. They've got John Eiley just in front of them as well. John previously an aerodynamics engineer for Ferrari F1 team during the Schumacher years, actually. So he's a hell of a driver to have on the grid. Great to see him actually getting some racing done, as obviously his main career was the actual engineering itself. But nice little trio here, as Ash Law has now fallen behind Williams once again. Peter Williams is a driver that I was actually quite surprised to see that far down the grid in 21st. Says, Josh Needham's got a problem, and he's parked right on the apex of Agostini's there.
He needs to get across the track quickly, doesn't he? That would be ideal, because there's an exit point which he's just found. Nicely done.
There was a bit of fluid coming out of the bottom of that car though that was still right on the apex, so I hope that's not going to affect anybody else. It didn't seem like it was a long streak of fluid, but as it stopped it sort of left a puddle, didn't it? Let's hope that that doesn't cause too many issues, because there's already been a lot of fluid put down on the circuit today, hasn't there?
And rain and everything else. It's been one of those days, unfortunately, but so far we're escaping without too much rain within this race. But John Owen continues to keep, for now, Peter Brower at bay. As I say that, Peter Brower gets very close in towards the left-hander at Murray's, but can't find a way through. So it's the drag race now up towards the line for these two, and it just shows how quick they are. They turn on a knife edge, don't they? They're into the corner, out the corner, up the straight, and onto another lap. So very fast cars indeed, but it's Josh Law that still continues to head the field out there. 6.4 seconds to the good of James Barwell. So again, Joshua Law, like has been so many times this year, and a bit of a class of his own out front, but he still needs to keep this up, because if one slight mistake happens or anything does occur, then he could very quickly lose those 6 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. We all know too well how fickle motorsport can be sometimes, and just because you're in the lead of the race doesn't mean that you are immune from mistakes or any sort of failures. You know, touch wood for Josh that isn't going to happen. The car has been really, really good this season. They had a few issues with it yesterday, actually. I sort of contradict myself very quickly there, but he did have a few issues with it yesterday in the heat. But I think, again, a lot of the drivers had problems with it yesterday. I think the conditions this time round are a lot better, though, because it's sort of in that middle ground, isn't it? I mean, you're in a shirt and t-shirt, shorts and a t-shirt. You know, it's not the hottest of days, but it's not like it's not cold. It's not typically British weather, is it?
No, I think we all expected it to be like yesterday, and we were like, yeah, it's going to be a lovely day, and no, it's not at all. Not in this country. It changes very, very quickly indeed. So I'm still warm. I'm fine. I'm indoors for today, so I'll bear that one in mind. So down towards the right-hander of the bomb hole comes still our second-place man, James Barwell. So he's managing to keep at bay for now the car of Richard Johnson. But these three have been tied together since the start of the race, and in fact since the safety car pulled in. So James Barwell's doing good under this pressure from Richard Johnson, and not too far adrift as well is Tom Snetterton in that number 1 machine. So again, he's got to be on his money here as James, because one slight mistake could let not just one car through but 2. So he's got to keep pushing on here, but he's doing a tremendous job. Last time through he was slightly quicker than Richard Johnson, but not by a huge amount, but still sits there nicely in that second place.
We just had a quick glimpse there of Charlie Hyatt as well, son of Ross Hyatt and brother of Nick Hyatt. So they've got 3 of them on the grid. Unfortunately, Ross not racing with us this weekend, but he is actually going to be here tomorrow. He's racing at Donington Park, I believe, this weekend in something else. I think it's some Ginetta thing that he mentioned. Ross is an absolute legend, though. He's really, really a good guy to speak to as well. He's got so many stories, but Charlie's been doing a great job in that car. It was his first race a few weeks ago when they raced at Silverstone, and he's been doing absolutely amazingly considering how close and competitive the Pinto class is. He's running 3rd in it at the moment, sorry 4th, I do apologise, behind Johnson Street and Needham. And I mean all those drivers that have done very, very well, as Grant Gibson seems to have dropped a bunch of places all of a sudden on the timing, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to him. We may find out in just a moment, I think.
Yeah, not good news for the man who runs in the Van Diemen, so he has got work to do. Back to this battle, which again has been going since the safety car came in. This is the number 28 machine, still just about ahead at the minute. That's John Owen. Peter Brower is behind. This is still for 10th and 11th place. Not too far adrift is also the number 7 machine of Mike Turner. So we've got these 3 cars now starting to bring themselves together. This is another great battle as well, which is almost unfolding. That's the number 44 machine of John Eiley, and there's the move. Peter Brower goes through, and that was nicely done. Whether there was contact, we're not too sure, but Peter Brower gets through in the end.
Yeah, these guys, to be fair, there's very rarely contact in Sports 2000. They all know how big each other's wallets are, to be honest with you, but no, they're a very, very friendly bunch. You know, the respect in this racing category is absolutely amazing, and it's something that makes my job even easier as well. You know, coming to see these guys in the paddock and having a chat with everybody, they're all so approachable and so easy to chat to. That is Nick Hyatt and Chris Snowden having a good old fight together. Chris Snowden, another legend of Pinto racing. He's fixed everything, built everything, raced everything. He also races in Alfa Romeos as well, all over the country. And that beautiful number 32 Tiger looking really, really strong as always. Nick Hyatt in front of him though in the number 36 Lola, one of my favourite cars on the grid, that Lola. It was dark green and gold last season, but this season it has been repainted with the Pegasus Historic Engineering colours on it. Ross Hyatt's new team for this season onwards. And these beautifully elegant Pintos make their way towards us now at Brundle and Nelson, sweeping in. Lola looks really, really good into there, and it's not a car you expect to look sort of planted to the ground, because it looks like it'd be really, really slippery and sort of floaty around the circuit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's quite rounded. It's got a big back end on it as well. Here comes the move down the inside then for the number 71 machine. So this is potentially going to be a change between David Houghton, and the car trying to get through there is
Paul Traherne is the 71 machine, the gun.
That's for 7th place, isn't it? So a good little fight here going on at the minute. That's of course with Paul Traherne in the Derek Bell Trophy, so he's in his own class effectively, but these two are now fighting for an overall position within this race, and no real change there, because Houghton for now does stay ahead of Traherne.
And he's another one that's in the MCR S2N, which has this newly developed bodywork on the front of that machine. Now, it was the University of Wales Trinity St David team. I can never get it right. They helped develop the new front end for the MCR S2N last season, and it's been a resounding success so far, as that is a very crackly and poppy Michael Gibbons. Now, that car has not run right all season. Michael's had so much bad luck with it. Him and his father Alan have been trying to fix the issues time and time again, and considering the fact that he still won a race this season with a car that's not running right, it just shows you how quick Michael Gibbons, reigning champion, is. He won all but one race last year, did Michael. Sorry, no, I'm thinking of the year before. Tom Snetterton won most of the races last year. The year before that, 2020, Michael Gibbons won all but one race. He's incredibly dominant, as now traffic becomes an issue here, and look at that. Richard Johnson down the inside, it looked like. on James Barwell, and he's going to get it done, isn't he? Surely into the hairpin. Tom Stoughton waiting to take advantage, and Johnson goes second.
Certainly does. So that was what Richard was waiting for. He's been on the back from the start of this race. The mistake, not from James Barwell, just for the traffic to be in front of him, was caught at the wrong time. So James Barwell, I'm sure, will be furious with that, but will try and fight back as best as he can on Richard Johnson. Now he looks to the inside, no real gap through there, so he goes back to the outside, down towards Agostini. What he's got to be careful of here is not to let Tom Stoughton through, who's also on his tail as well. So he's now in a very precarious position. As we know, you're trying to attack and defend at the same time. So not good news for James Barwell, but very good news for Richard Johnson to move himself up into second place.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to take a sort of late apex there, didn't it, to maybe just move in front and get a run on the exit of the corner, but no, it didn't quite seem like it paid off. And I think, like you say, he was just filling his mirrors with Tom Stoughton and keeping his eye on that, to be fair, because Tom is one of those drivers that just takes advantage of a little situation developing in front of him. You know, he's so opportunistic. He's a really, really wise racer in the very, very pretty Locks for Vans branded Gun TS11, or the TS12, I believe it is. I think it was his partner, actually, that told me that I got it wrong at Donington Park. She knew more than I did, to be fair to her. It doesn't make me look very good as a commentator. But Richard Johnson and everybody now moving past David Gorst in another one of the MCR S2s. David still getting his eye in with the car and just building up his confidence time and time again. He's a really, really nice guy as well, is David, to be fair. Always a good bloke to chat to. There's not too long left in this race now, though, is there, Matt?
I think we're going to be on to the last lap by the looks of it. 1:53 to get round, 1:42 as he crossed the line, Joshua Law. So yeah, I think we're on to the last lap of the race. And to be fair, since Richard Johnson has got his way past James Barwell, that gap has just opened up slightly there. So he was probably being held up just briefly, although James Barwell is doing a good job to try and hold on here. Tom Stoughton carries some great speed through Richie's corner, so I don't think the final step on the podium is just yet secure. So we'll keep an eye on what happens with those three cars as the Pintos head their way now onto what's going to be that penultimate lap with still one more to go. But there he is, Joshua Law, done so well so far this year, and it looks like it's going to be another victory on the cards for our race leader.
Yeah, his fastest lap of the race is a 1:53.3. It looks to me like he's the only driver to have got into the 53s in this entire race. Really, really incredible pace by Josh. And this season, he's just absolutely turned it on. You know, he was so close so many times in the last few years. He's always been on the podiums. He's always been up there. He's such a smiley, happy guy as well, Josh. You'll never see him angry. You know, he's just such a lovely bloke. And he's done an amazing job. And his father, Ian, and even his brother, Ashla, as well. You know, they've all come together really well to promote Josh and get him fighting like this. And I mean, the gap over the line last time was 13.7 seconds. It's incredible pace by Josh, and like you say, it's going to be a very well-deserved race win that has just put everybody else into a different league.
Certainly has. So Joshua Law turns his way then through the last couple of corners, looking good now for victory at number 5. As you spoke, Chaz, Tom Stoughton's had his year where he's won most of the races. Michael Gibbons did the same. It looks like it's heading this way for Joshua Law, but still plenty of racing to come this year. One more back marker to try and work his way through, which he does up towards the checker flag, and it's going to be win number 5 out of the 7 races we've had so far this year. And it's Joshua Law who takes the victory then in the first of the Sports 2000 Championship races here at Snetterton. For second, this is going to be close. Richard Johnson with the likes of Tom Stoughton, and also behind him as well James Barwell. It's going to be Johnson to the line by the looks of it, just ahead of James Barwell, and Tom Stoughton comes through in 4th position with Michael Gibbons just rounded out the top 5, which I think, apart from the DNF earlier in the season, that now equals Michael Gibbons' worst performance of the year.
Yes, he's not had the smoothest of seasons once again, as Michael. Like I say, the amount of issues with that car absolutely plaguing him and his father Alan, bless them. Nick Johnson has been doing an amazing job in the Lola 592S at the start, the top end of the Pintos. It looks like he's going to come through and take the victory there. We might have to wait a little bit longer for that though. Clive Steeper's just making his way to the line now. Looks like Peter Brower has managed to stay in front of John Owen as well as Mike Turner. Those three just about to cross the line in front of us now. The Lola beating the 2 MCR S2s. And these cars don't half sound good, don't they? A 2-litre Duratec 4-pot. It's a fantastic sounding engine. It's almost like a touring car-esque noise, isn't it?
Certainly is. Thoroughly enjoyed that, and we always get entertainment aplenty, don't we, with Sports 2000, and that's a great thing with different classes as well. Wherever you look down the field, there is a battle for that class honour going on, and it's been fast and frantic, which is what Sports 2000 is all about. Bit of wide there, unfortunately, for Paul Street.
Oh, no.
On the last lap. He was almost off. He was almost kind of lost it, but he caught it on the grass there. So he loses, I think, 2 positions to the line, but he will come through in what's going to be 19th place in the end in that Lola.
Yeah, second place in this class as well. Nick Johnson taking the win in the Pinto category. Looks to me like Pete Needham is going to be third. He's going to take another podium in the number 54 Van Diemen, one of the prettiest cars on the grid. It's a shame not to see as many Pintos out this time, because a couple of times this season we've had separate races for them. We've had that bigger grid. Next across the line is Nick Hyatt and then Chris Snowden. That's cars 36 and 32. And it looks to me like that is going to be it, because the Duratec leaders did carve quite far into the Pinto field. But another really interesting race there, with the entire field -3 crossing the line.
Yeah, brilliant stuff indeed. So Joshua Law with the victory. He won by what's going to be 14.5 seconds in the end. Second place goes the way of Richard Johnson. Third place for James Barwell, Tom Stoughton and Michael Gibbons, your top 5. Sixth place then for number 40 was Timothy Tudor. Just behind him was the Derek Bell class winner, which was Paul Traherne. And then we had behind him in 8th position, that was going to be David Houghton. 9th place for number 50, that is Steve O. And to round out your top 10, in fact, Class B winner, Pete Brower. So there you go. Nice to see all of those doing well. And in terms of the Pintos, as you said, it was a win for Nicholas Johnson in number 62. He took Class C. Class A went away of Paul Street. And do we have a Class B winner? Let's have a quick look.
B, I think, was... No, actually. It seems like we only have A and C.
Well, at least we got some of them to the end.
Yeah, although it seems, it's a shame actually, Charlie Hyatt seemed to have dropped down a few laps by the end there. He came into the pits with 1 to go. He was 4th in the entire Pinto field for a long time there, showing great promise, as everyone has mentioned, and unfortunately he finishes his race in the pit lane. But there is your race winner, Josh Law, in the beautifully coloured MCR S2N after another very, very strong race. And I'm sure Richard Johnson's going to come over and offer his congratulations. It's such a friendly paddock in Sports 2000s. If you ever get a chance to come and see these guys, please do, because it's a beautiful and really, really happy and positive place to be.
Indeed it is. Great camaraderie amongst the drivers, great entertainment in the evening as well, just to relax and chat with drivers, how your race went, what you're looking forward to, any help you need as well. So yeah, Sports 2000s once again delivering in droves, which is always nice. Chaz, thank you so much for coming along.
Thank you. I'm going to go and enjoy Ian Law's wonderful barbecues, as he always does. He'll surely have one of them tonight, and I will leave you to it. Thanks very much, Matt.
What, in this weather?
Oh yeah, Ian does a barbecue no matter what.
Good stuff. Thanks very much, Chaz. He'll be back with us tomorrow, of course, on circuit, I'm sure. For now, though, Joshua Law is down there with our man in the pit lane, Mark Werrell.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, so Josh Law just receiving the congratulations of the team and family members, and big smiles all round. So let's dive in and grab a quick word with our race winner, Josh Law. Josh, congratulations. That's 5 wins this season now. It also means that you've won at every circuit we've visited so far this year.
Oh, cool. I didn't realise that. That's a nice thing to find out. Yeah, went great. I didn't get the best start I've ever had, but it wasn't completely terrible. Then I managed to get back past James before the safety car came out, and got a good restart. And then from then on, I just sort of managed it and yeah, tried to be nice and consistent, and it was great.
If they'd have come back at you, was there more in hand, more you could have offered? You just sort of drove it as fast as you needed to?
Yes, yeah, there was a little bit more, but yeah, when you don't need to push, like, you know, to the absolute limit, it was nice to look after the car a bit, so it's just trying to sort of be a bit sympathetic and make sure it made it to the end of the race.
1 out of 3 races over this weekend, so it doesn't just all stop now that you've taken the checkered flag. Lots of work to do prepping the car for tomorrow. Exactly,
yeah, we've got to check it all over now, and there's probably 100 jobs to do, and get them all done, and then have a bit of food and do it all again tomorrow.
Well, well done on the win. Congratulations on win number 5.
Thank you. Cheers.
There we go. So that's our winner of the race overall. We're going to wander down and see if we can grab a quick word with the winner of the Pinto class as well. So we'll come on down this way. The Pinto class was secured by Nick Johnson for the first time this year. So we'll wander down towards what is the tail end of this Parc Fermé. Just work our way past Paul Traherne, who's busy chatting. Oh, yeah. So hi, Paul. And then somewhere down here, sorry, gentlemen, we should be able to find Nick Johnson, who I can spot in the distance. It's a case of spotting these drivers in the distance and then grabbing a quick word. So we'll come round the back of this. Poor old Cam, the cameraman, is struggling to catch me up, but we'll grab a word with Nicholas if we can, who is busy chatting away. So a quick word, the winner of the Pinto class. Hard-fought race there, because Paul Street was not that far away, was he, as the second of the Pinto cars?
It was great fun. That's what racing's about. Good close racing. We didn't touch at all. We came very close. He stuck it up the inside into Russell right at the end, and we just braked early and let him go by. So, yeah, great way to finish the race. First time I've been at Snets in about 15 years, so it's good to be back.
I'm going to say it's the first time you've been at Snetterton in a while, because you called it Russell. It's now called Murray's the final corner, you know.
No, it'll always be Russell to me.
Did you see that on that final corner then, you know, he ran wide and then poor old Paul almost lost places then on the charge to the line?
Yeah, it was the last corner of the last lap. I figured he was going to have one last go. So, to be honest, we left him room. We braked a fraction earlier just to give myself options. And thankfully for me, he slightly overcooked it for himself, and I was back up the inside. So it was a classic switcheroo, and it was good to do.
We saw you at, was it Donington the first round? You didn't do the next couple. Back in for this one. Are you back for some more later on?
All being well, the engine went bang at the end of race 1 Donington, so we only got the car back on the Thursday evening. So it's just good to be back in my baby bell, as I call her. Be back out there having some fun.
Well done on the win. Congratulations.